The digital nomad lifestyle can be exhausting sometimes if you're constantly changing places, so many of us have settled into staying longer in places, slow travel, and the so-called Slomad lifestyle. So in this guide, I'm going to tell you more about how to set yourself up for success when picking and getting settled in a destination. Let's go. Hey Nomads, this is Eric from Rising Nomad and I'm here in Belgrade, Serbia. It's a Monday morning at 8 a.m. and my routine today told me that I have to make videos. And this is one that I really want to share some tips and tricks, some secrets about life as a Slomad. A digital nomad who travels slowly through the different places and tries to establish as much of a routine as possible in the places that one goes. And this is incredibly important because I've found that I'm much less productive when I'm constantly changing places, when I'm constantly having to explore new territory. And over the years, especially over the Corona pandemic, I've settled more into going places longer, like for 2 months or at least 1 month. And, you know, wanting to have a normal life that you set up for a time and some things that travel with you around lifestyle choices, dietary choices, sort of the rhythm of your week and all of that sort of stuff. And I don't really want to bang out a bunch of destinations anymore. I want to be stable in places, but also have the option to choose. So what I'm doing right now is, well, the past few months, I've been in Belgrade, Serbia, which has been my long-term base as a digital nomad. I've been here for a month, and before that I was 4 months in Kopangan, Thailand. It's an island in Thailand, as a lot of you know. And before that I was 2 months in Mexico. So the trend long-term for me is to be somewhere over the winter, which is warm, you know? When it's cold in Europe, I want to be somewhere warm and have a great lifestyle there that involves exercising outside and stuff like that and eating good food. And when I'm here in the summer, I want the same. So it's trying to find what lifestyle, over many years I've found what lifestyle works well for me, and I try to replicate that as closely as possible in the places that I stay. So let's get into some more of the tips and tricks. All right, so before you even go, you need to find the right place, because choosing the right sort of destination for slow travel is key to the success and happiness you will experience there. And I would say that you should watch a bunch of YouTube videos. This is the most authentic way for people and their impressions, people like you who are actually in those places or have been to those places, sharing those impressions. And this is the most reliable way to find out a lot of information, you know? You've got a video of me walking down the street in Belgrade, Serbia right now. You can check out my channel, Belgrade Beat, which is entirely focused on my expat experience in Serbia. And by tapping into people like you who share similar preferences in life and seeing their experience in the places that you're researching, you will find a lot of information that will help you decide what place is right for you. You should also go on Facebook. There's lots of expat groups on Facebook, and lots of strange faces on there. I mean, I made another video called Why Are Expat Groups So Toxic and stuff. You might want to check that out because you know, they can be prickly places, but overall, most of the people there are expats like you who want to share information. And by going in these expat groups on Facebook, you can constantly find out what sorts of issues people are having in these places when they're trying to live there as expats. And it'll give you a readout on the types of expats you're likely to meet there, the types of problems they're having, the things that they love. You'll find out about cool establishments that are catering to expats and advertising on there. And it can be really, really a valuable source of information. And you can also ask questions. You know, hey, I'm thinking of coming to Tulum, Mexico for a few months. Do you know where I can find a yoga studio that gives lessons in English and stuff like that? So Facebook groups, expat forums and all that sort of stuff. Don't be a stranger, join them and engage in discussion and always use the group search, folks, before you ask a question, because a lot of the time people ask the same questions every day, and people get annoyed at those people because they could have just used the group search and found the answers to the questions that they were posing for the millionth time. So you want to research the local culture and language and how accessible it is to you and how much that's going to resonate with you. For example, based on my experience, I can say that I am much more resonating with European culture than, let's say, Latin American culture. And also Asian culture is much more in line with my goals as an expat than Latin American culture is. The reason I became an expat is because I didn't want to live in Canada anymore. So going to a place in the Americas still has a lot of the stuff that I don't like about Canada, like the absence of culture and history and local traditions as a centerpiece of life, let's say, and a sophistication that you can only get in Europe and Asia and the old world countries. So that's one for me. And the local language, like, you want to actually know how much you'll need to know of the local language. Do people speak English in this place, and how easy is it to get around? I'd say, like, most of the expat places where I've been around the world, it's easy to get by in English. That's not an issue whatsoever. So, but you just want to make sure, because some places you might end up are not like that. Like a lot of China, for example, would not be like that. Japan, not like that. Brazil, not like that, apparently. A friend recently went to Brazil, and he says, like, he walks in a shop and says hello, and they look at you like, what? Huh? I don't know how true it is. I haven't been to Brazil, but yeah, that's something definitely to consider. Weather is a huge thing. Weather, and also pollution, and the sort of like seasons that the place goes through. You want to make sure you're going at the right time of year. For example, Chiang Mai, Thailand has a smoky season from January until April. And one time I only found that out after after I booked a ticket for there. So I was there during smoking season. It wasn't the best, but it was still Chiang Mai, Thailand, and all the great things about that place were there. But research the weather. You might end up in a rainy season, which might be better than winter, wherever you're based in North America or Europe otherwise, but it still will be rainy season and not the best time to visit. So make sure you are finding the best times to visit all of the places that you're going. Cost of living is something like a lot of entry-level and starting out digital nomads will really be interested in. Myself, I've been on this journey for a while, and cost of living is, I'm successful, so it's not a huge deal, but a lot of people will want to know how much stuff costs. And you, even if you do have lots of money, you might be curious to just check that out before you go. How much will beer cost in the local bar? How much will an apartment cost, and all that sort of stuff? And medical care, stuff like that. So check that out. And then last but not least, the feeling. You might just have a feeling that you want to go to a certain destination, and all the research that you do about the things I've mentioned, all the YouTube videos you watch, will essentially make you feel more and more like you just have to book a ticket to that place. And those feelings, life's taking you somewhere. And if you feel it is a certain country, a certain city or something, and all the research sort of confirms that, I'd recommend you just go and book that. So when you're ready to pull the trigger, off you go. Dorchel Belgrade is my example because I happen to be walking around here right now, but let's go over some things that you should look for. Definitely the vibe. You want a place like this that's full of life. I think you can see around me there's all sorts of interesting street art, and if you walk on any of these streets, it's like 8 in the morning right now, so the cafes aren't open, but come evening time this neighborhood is full of cafes and people sitting around enjoying life. And that's what you want. You want a place where you have a certain amount of urbanism, and I'm talking about walkability. I'm talking about people living their lives, people doing business, people basically living life to the fullest. You don't want to have to travel outside your neighborhood to experience the culture that you've traveled halfway around the world to do. Your life as a digital nomad in the slow travel sort of way will be, it's a make or break based on what you choose as a neighborhood. So yeah, walkability and access to transport is the thing. If it's a bigger city, you definitely need to be closer to the metro or something like that, somewhere around that. And if it's a smaller city like Belgrade that doesn't have a metro, you want to be close to where the trams go and stuff like that, so you can get to other parts of the city. But, you know, me personally, this neighborhood of Belgrade, you don't really need to go anywhere else. It's right down the hill from the main pedestrian zone. It's attached to the historic fortress. You can walk down to both of the rivers whose confluence make the city what it has been over history. And yeah, you have access to all sorts of food and restaurants basically everywhere in this neighborhood. And all of these apartments, all of these buildings have living space apartments in them as well. So this sort of like mixed use commercial residential type of area is probably what you want to go for whenever possible. Of course, different cities have different layouts. You also want to make sure that there's a place where you can go and exercise, whether that's a gym or, for example, here the Kalemegdan Fortress has lots of exercise options in and around there and on the riverbank. Access to parks is also very important. You know, just so you can breathe wherever you are in the city, breathe and see some, you know, local life in the parks and just feel like you're a part of a community that's not just all like commerce and cafes and business and stuff like that. So this neighborhood of Dorchel, Belgrade, definitely ticks all of the boxes. And there's lots of other expats here. As I said, you can research all these things on YouTube and Facebook groups or other expats who share tips and tricks about where they like to be. What you don't want to do is blindly book 2 months in a place where you're not going to be happy. So a lot of the time what people do is they'll book like 1 week in an Airbnb in a place and then hit the ground and walk around and find a place locally where they want to live, where they actually see the type of life they want on the streets in that neighborhood, and basically just get a place there from the locals. That may or may not work that well based on the different availability sort of situations that you might encounter, but it's worth a shot because definitely you will know that you will know more when you hit the ground. I mean, just a short walk around a neighborhood like this will show you so much more than any YouTube video or expat forum could ever show you. So keep that in mind. So once you've chosen your neighborhood and you've got a place booked at least for the initial, let's say 7 days, well, I would say that you need to research the neighborhood as much as possible. You want to go and look at all sorts of restaurants that are available here, look at all sorts of cultural events on Facebook, events on couch surfing, local couch surfers who are holding things like meetups where you can meet other foreigners. And you want to do the research on your social life so that you can hit the ground running when you arrive in a place. You know, one of the biggest issues for digital nomads is having to start fresh in each place with social connections and meet people fresh, and loneliness is a big hazard of this lifestyle. So the more people you get in touch with before you arrive in a certain place, and the more events you know that you can go to in your first week, the faster you'll meet people, the faster your life in the new slow travel location will be exactly what you want it to be, rather than, you know, slow, steady progress towards that. One of the benefits of the Slomad lifestyle is that you can basically become pretty good friends with someone within a couple months or 3 months and get to know people, and then you can go back to that place next year and hopefully those same people will be there. One of the hazards is people are always leaving, but yeah, Restaurant reviews, Street View on Google is really useful for checking out the neighborhoods as well and checking out establishments. And yeah, get as close as you can to seeing, hearing, and even imagining the taste of the food in places before you go to them, so you know what's likely going to be for you versus not for you. All right, folks, so you have arrived and you basically want to get going. What's the first thing you do when you arrive in a destination? For me, it's get a SIM card. You should have researched before you arrive what the local providers are who offer the best deals, which a store, or do you have to go into one of their retail locations, or can you just go to the closest convenience store or kiosk and get a SIM card there? Do you need to bring your passport when you buy it, and all that sort of stuff? Here in Serbia, it's very easy. You can get it at any kiosk, but if you go to the retail locations, the people there will probably speak English, and make sure that you do not leave that store before your SIM card is operating with a 4G plan. I recommend having a dual SIM card phone, so you can have multiple providers, and even an extra phone if you have to, keep your old SIM card from another country there. I mean, SIM cards with 4G data that you can tether with your laptop are essential for any digital nomad. It means that rather than living from Wi-Fi to Wi-Fi, you can essentially just go anywhere, sit in a park like this, take out your laptop, switch on your hotspot, and fly on the internet. So SIM card is definitely the first thing you should get. Then the next thing I would recommend is finding the local supermarkets, because eating out can be more expensive and lead to weight gain if you do it all the time. But as I've sort of developed my slow travel routine, I basically only eat out on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. I will not touch food from restaurants on the other days because, well, I'm very specific about what I want to eat. My macronutrients, about 2,000 calories and over 150 grams of protein each day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I need supermarkets who have the sort of stuff that I need. And I'm also into health food and all that sort of stuff, so usually the first thing I'll do in a place is go to the supermarket, see what's there that I can eat according to my routine. And this is from Monday to Thursday, because on the weekends I'm a maniac monster, drinking and eating everything. I earn it by following the routine and eating clean. So the health food stores, the supermarkets, the local fresh markets as well. You really want to maximize the quality of the food that you're going to eat, and fill your fridge with stuff that you love to eat that's also healthy. Next thing you want to do on the ground is find some cafes, find some areas that you are wanting to sit, and take note of the hours of the cafe. Like, for example, I wake up in the morning when the sun comes up usually, and a lot of the time it's hard to find a cafe that's open at that time. So you want to note the opening hours. So if you are out at 7 in the morning, you know what's open and where you can go and sit and have that first coffee. I mean, I'm a morning person, so I wake up and get some of my best work done between like 7 and 10 a.m. a lot of the time. So that's super important. And, get some coffee for home as well in a way of preparing it. You want to walk around the hood as much as possible when you first get to a place, or ride a bicycle as well. With those two ways of getting around, you can find more little nooks and crannies and little places that you'll really love around the hood, and get a feel for the place, where the neighborhood changes, what the boundaries are, and all that sort of stuff. Super important to get to know your surroundings and discover the stuff you might not yet have heard about that you can only discover by walking down the street. Also find a nice park like this one where I am right now. This is Kalemegdan Fortress Park. It's a super great place because it's just full of green space, and it makes up a huge part of this neighborhood. And find your way to the center of town. Know the walking routes, because like a lot of the time if you go out drinking at 11 p.m., you might only be 10 minutes walking away from your home, but you might not know how to get there without a taxi if you're drunk. But of course you get your SIM card and Google Maps. but just find the best way to the center of town, find the variations of it, so that you always, like when you get out and you want to walk, you are just really to the point and getting there without hassle. And the last thing is find co-working spaces. Like, I'm not a big fan of co-working spaces. I'd prefer either to work at home, in an apartment, in privacy, or in a cafe. But co-working spaces usually have things like printers and scanners and community events and all that sort of stuff, which might be interesting to you if you don't actually want to work there. So yeah, and then once you get the lay of the land, you're going to want to get your lifestyle items. Now this is super important for me because I'd say, I'm into tech, music, nutrition and fitness, so those are my main hobbies apart from YouTube. And a lot of the stuff that, like the tech, I take with me, just my smartphone, this camera and my laptop. I usually carry multiple laptops for redundancy, but that's enough. I can take that with me, but taking a guitar with me is often a hassle. Taking guitars on planes is a hassle. And it's often easy to find a cheap guitar, just good enough for writing songs when I get to the place. Bicycle as well. Getting a bicycle is something that I really love. It's my favorite way to get around everywhere because it's exercise and it's an efficient mode of transportation. I usually get a blender for making protein smoothies with fresh local fruits. When I get to a place, I usually like to have a yoga mat because I do yoga online with Georgina. You can see some videos of that on our channel, Rising Nomad. And yeah, so those are my lifestyle items. You might also want to get some cheap computer speakers to play in your accommodation for the couple months you're going to be there. And those are things I buy locally. And on the Facebook groups, like for example, when I was in Tulum, Mexico for 2 months, I just posted on the Facebook groups, selling guitar, selling bicycle. People came and picked up those 2 items from me, like within the last couple of days I was there. So it was super efficient. I got to use those things and then pass them on to the next expat who was interested in having those things in their life. So yeah, then you'll be all set up. Great, isn't it? So you're all set up. You've got a great neighborhood, hopefully a great apartment, and basically all of the lifestyle accessories. Now you need to get into a routine to tie it all together. And digital nomad lifestyle, the biggest risk is you're going to live in a really undisciplined and chaotic fashion. And I think what I really want to drive home with this video is that it doesn't need to be like that. You can set yourself up just like you were living at home if you just consider what kind of lifestyle you want to achieve. I told you what that looks like for me with the certain accessories and certain ways that you're gonna set your life up there. And for me, it's stuff like what I do on which day of the week, what type of exercise I do when I wake up, where I go for coffee in the morning, and what neighborhoods I like to walk around, who I like to hang out with on the weekends, and what are the best places to go for a bike ride when I have a free moment, and all that sort of stuff. I look at routines as a weekly thing. You might look at it as a daily thing. Of course, it's both, and you just have to constantly be going in a direction where you're implementing more good habits that make you feel great and less bad habits that make you feel lousy, or controlling the, like going out drinking on a Friday night can be a great habit. You can meet lots of great people and all of that sort of stuff, but if you do it wrong, you'll feel horrible sometimes. If you go out on a Tuesday, for example, you might feel horrible. Or if so keeping the drinking to the weekends and having a bunch of health-oriented tasks that you do during the week, that's how I look at it. I made another video about this, my weekly routine, which you can check to see how I organize my week, but it's gonna be different for everybody. And I think you will just have to constantly tweak that. And as you get more down the path of taking your routines around the world, it will be more rewarding. So now you've done that, you've got your stuff set up, you've got your routine how you want it to be. The last thing you need to do is adjust to the place. I mean, different places have different things to get used to. After spending 4 months on a tropical island in Thailand, the sound of the traffic here was kind of distracting to me. I was really sensitive, and it took a while to get used to the big city sort of vibe again. When I went to Mexico last October, as soon as I got in my Airbnb, I realized that pretty much on all sides of the apartment, there were barking dogs that barked at random points all throughout the entire day and night. So after two weeks, or even like 1 week, I no longer heard the barking dogs anymore, because I just told my brain, there's nothing you can do about this. Just edit it out. And so that worked pretty well. And I got, used to everything there. You get used to the food, you get used to the culture, you get used to the urban landscape, and you get used to the noises. You get used to pretty much anything you need to get used to within a couple weeks. So know that the place will look different after a couple weeks. And this is the beauty of slow travel. Being able to really get to know a place and really establish yourself and who you are in that place, and prolonging that for weeks, months. And if it goes well, it can be a place that you go back to in subsequent years. So I really believe this is the future of the digital nomad movement. It's certainly what I'm going for, because I saw how exhausted I got from the quick sort of traveling around the world, stopping in a bunch of destinations. I mean, you can just burn out from travel, especially if you have like responsibilities online, working in your business. It might not be the best thing to just travel nonstop, but this slow travel lifestyle, it's amazing, because it's the perfect balance of certainty and uncertainty that you can have in your life. So thanks a lot. This has been Rising Nomad, Slow Travel Guide. I hope your Slomad journey goes well, and that you're going to continue to have great lifestyles around the world, and the ability to change it up whenever you want, but not necessarily wanting to. So, subscribe to our channel if you don't mind. If you watch up until here, chances are you're interested, you want to see more content like this. You can join our Facebook group down below, and basically keep in touch with us, and maybe see us in the same locations. I pretty much decided Belgrade, Serbia is awesome for me. Copenhagen, Thailand is awesome for me. And there's other places that are awesome too. And so I'm going to continue to be in these places and do my thing, make these videos, build the community around the world. So if you want to be a part of that, definitely subscribe and join our Facebook group. And basically, just remember that you left the country that you were born in or lived in because you were searching for something. And a lot of the time, the something you were searching for is just to bring out other aspects of yourself and become more in tune with yourself. So the most important thing when you go to a place is to tune into what you have inside your heart, tune into what your soul wants, and what sort of routine is going to work for you. So best of luck doing that. Thanks. This has been Eric for Rising Nomad. I'll catch you later.